Welcome to Fostering Solutions, a podcast that uplifts people and enterprises making positive impact in communities around the world. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Foster. My guest today is Dr. Terrence Ramon Stuart. Dr. Stuart, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You're joining me from Georgia today. How are you? I know you're from West Virginia. How are you liking it there in Georgia?
Yeah, so Georgia is by far my second home. Been down here since 2016. Not quite West Virginia, but definitely have grown to love the Peach State.
Awesome, awesome. Now, we met a while ago, and I was trying to remember what year, but these days, time is just flying by so quickly. I was at Kisra, and you were working on your doctorate at Ohio State. And I remember that you offered these to teach some classes for us on building my PC. And we had a number of our workforce development program participants who were, ex-offenders or single dads. And we were really thrilled to have you be a part of our team. So, each person finishing those classes, they felt so accomplished and so hopeful about their future. But it was, great to connect with you way back then. And I've, watched you grow so much since then. But tell the audience about yourself. Who is Terrence Stuart?
Yeah, and so that dates back to 2009, actually.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Yeah, so it was just yesterday. But
yeah.
As I say all the time, I'm just a poor little country boy from Southern West by God, Virginia. Grew up in McDowell County, and as many people know, we went from being a $1 billion coal field, having that label in Little New York, to one of the poorest counties in all of America. Born to a single mother who dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, but she had the wherewithal to go to Bluefield State after she earned her GED, but she had to stop out. And when she stopped back in, she would hitchhike 32 miles in each direction to get to class and back from class. And so, it was neat because I had the opportunity to witness her educational journey. However, I had no clue what it meant. And there were times where in the Welch Daily News, a newspaper that I started delivering at 11 years old, the Welch Daily News would have a feature of my mother making the dean's list while I would be making the straight A honor roll. Awesome. And so those humble beginnings in McDowell County, growing up on Welch Hill, really taught me a lot. I met a gentleman by the name of Ellis Ray Williams, who on October the 16th, will celebrate his 100th year on the face of this earth. And Mr. Williams is a gentleman and a scholar. He taught me the value of hard work, but he also taught me how important it was to never have to do manual labor for another person a day in my life unless I chose to. Mm-hmm. And it was in my times with Mr. Williams that I reached the epiphany that I was going to go to college, and not only go to college, I was going to finish. And I went on to West Virginia University, where I had a lot of fun, probably more fun than I should have.
That's all right.
We were the #1 party school in the nation.
I know, for several years.
We still probably are. And I had to do my part to keep that distinction. And so it was at that point in time where I got engaged in a variety of things, student government, my collegiate fraternity, and those experiences really, really helped shape and mold me. Had some tragedies that struck right there in my graduate school years. February 2nd, 2002, one of my fraternity brothers was murdered at 7:34 p.m. And that changed a little boy into a man, and so many others. And then we had another instance or occurrence on July the 18th, 2003. And it was Dr. Irvin V. Griffin Sr. who looked at me and said, "I want you out of Morgantown." And so I entered into the professoriate at the ripe age of 24. And I truly only went into the professoriate as a way to get my bearings about me. I was an engineer by degree, and I heard they made a lot of money. And so it was my aim to go make some of it. And the
Mhm.
$34,000 I started out making was not a lot of money. And so I would always supplement my income with various jobs like the ones done at Kisra or Kenna Elementary School, where I worked with the children of Kenna on technology. And so from there, I thought I would only be in higher education a year. Was elected by my peers as the faculty member of the year. And in my second year, I became a faculty senate president on accident. And then that accidentally led to a unanimous reelection to a standing ovation. And so I've been blessed on my journey. And, I tell people all the time, the only reason I got a doctorate is because I got tired of correcting people when they would call me Dr. Stewart. And when I went to get my doctorate, somebody asked me, what did I want to be? And I said, I'm not for sure, but I want a job that requires me to wear a suit every day and pays me enough to afford to do so. And I was blessed at that time to have studied under Roderick J. McDavis, one of the few African-American presidents at a Research One institution when I did my doctorate at Ohio University. And I met Brian Hemphill, who definitely is a star in higher ed. And I came back to West Virginia State with him in 2012. And it's kind of funny the trajectory he and I have followed. When he left West Virginia State in 2016 for Radford, I left West Virginia State for Fort Valley State, where I became the provost in 2016. And then when he left Radford in 2021 to be the president of Old Dominion University, I left Fort Valley State University to become the president of Clayton State University.
Wow.
And so definitely been blessed to be carried around on the shoulders of giants. They've placed my feet on solid ground, and I've been able to run a marathon without ever getting tired. And so that's a little bit about me.
All righty. So now you're the president of Clayton State. Give the audience a feel for your university. Where are you located, enrollment, things like that.
Yeah, so Clayton State University was founded just 52 years ago, founded as a 2-year institution in Clayton County, which is right outside of, a lot of people are familiar with Fulton County. And the reason people are familiar with Fulton County is because that's where Atlanta, Georgia is. Atlanta is not the state. Georgia is the state. And so,
Atlanta, right?
Hot Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we are about 15 minutes from downtown Atlanta, less than 10 minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, where, believe it or not, 80% of Hartsfield-Jackson or Atlanta Airport is actually in Clayton County. We've had a rich history. We're one of 26 institutions that comprise the University System of Georgia. University System of Georgia is broken down into research universities, comprehensive state universities, and state colleges. We are one of about 7 state universities where we have a cadre of degree programs that range from certificates all the way up to master's degrees. We just actually got approval to launch a new master's degree last week. We got approval to launch a new master's degree in cybersecurity. And so we continue to offer those. We have about 6,850 students. What's neat about that is 62% of the students of Clayton State University are African American.
Wow.
We have a nice contingent of Asian American students because there's a large Vietnamese population. And so we are a very diverse campus, so much so the state of Georgia has 11 historical black colleges and universities. Of the 11, only Albany State University educates more Black students than we do at Clayton State.
Because I was going to ask you, so you're not officially an HBCU, but you're an HBCU. It sounds
No, and it's important that we make sure to make those distinctions. The HBCUs, the 104 of them that still exist at this particular juncture, those were the way the institutions were founded. Given that we were not founded that way, we do have a minority serving institution distinction
Okay.
as what we call a PBI, or primarily or predominantly Black institution.
Okay, I haven't heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll have institutions. You may be familiar with Medgar Evers.
Uh-huh. In New
They're
York, yes.
they're a PBI.
Probably a lot of the City University system, because for undergrad, I went to City College of New York, which is a part of that same City University system that Medgar is a part of. So, yeah. You've started to describe your career trajectory. Were there any hurdles you have to overcome on your way, up the ladder to where you are now?
Yeah, I've been blessed to climb, and I've been blessed to climb at a early age. And so one of the things that you get quite often, you always talk about isms, and you'll hear of sexism and racism, and you'll even hear of ageism.
Ageism, that's right.
But you typically don't think of ageism in terms of what that does to quote unquote younger people. People might mostly think about ageism in the realm of something being done to a more seasoned person, that it has more years on this earth than me. So you have that, and then you also have the notion of this concept, wait your turn. There are a lot of times where people believe that, because someone else was ahead of you, or they should get their shot. And so it really requires you to remain humble while you're still being hungry. But you run into those nuances. And then again, you run into some situations where you believe that you should have been or could have been, but then you're overlooked for one reason or the other. And so you definitely have some bumps along the way, but I think looking back, my good days outweigh my bad days. So I better not complain.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain. That's right. That's right. So this series that I'm doing is about leadership. And some say, oh, you're a born leader. I believe leaders aren't necessarily born, they're made. And it's about, certain skills and attitudes and behaviors that we can all learn. So what did you have to learn when it comes to certain attitudes, behaviors, skills? What did you have to learn to achieve the success that you have so far?
Yeah, and I can even look at where I was when I became the provost at Fort Valley State University in 2016 versus where I am being the the president of Clayton State University in 2021. First and foremost, I think leaders have to know who they are, and you have to know whose you are. And I think when you know who you are and whose you are, you asked about my background. Those are things that shaped me into the person I am today. The humble beginnings in McDowell County taught you how to treat people, because you couldn't act as though you were better than anyone, because everybody was trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. And so you learn some things along the way. And when you know who you are, you understand that, as Luke once reminded us, that to whom much is given, much is expected. And if you go into leadership with a servant attitude, if you put others or service over self, what you will find is that that's where I do think the leadership things are semi-natural, because all you're doing is trying to make sure that everyone is a little bit better tomorrow than we are today.
Right.
But I do believe as you make that journey, and I even look at my difference between 2016 and 2021, you start to do what I call engage in what I call the Karate Kid effect. And when you think about it, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel's son in the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi would have him waxing on and waxing off, or painting the fence. And Daniel's son thought he was doing a bunch of manual labor for nothing. But the reality was he was creating a fighter. And I think as leaders, what we do through our experiences, when we know who we are and whose we are our experience allow us to wax on and wax off or paint the fence. And what it's doing is continuously polishing us in a manner that allows us to be not only a servant leader, but to be decisive, to be reflective, to understand, to have that compassion, and to ultimately want to help everybody be better tomorrow than they are today. And so I think that's where that organic growth and development comes, so that one day you look up and you're bestowed a title like president of Clayton State University, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's beneath my name.
How important is vision to you as a leader?
Yeah. Without a vision, people will perish. Okay. And again, when you understand who you are and whose you are, and you committed to selfless leadership and service that helps other people, what happens is, you have to get people to buy into something. You have to have a rallying cry. And through that rally or through that buy-in, that affords you the opportunity to encourage people to move beyond the present and think about what's next. And so having a roadmap, I tell people all the time, you asked about Atlanta, you will never get to Atlanta if you envision going to Miami. You just will not get there because you're going in opposite direction.
Right.
And so while we may get there in so many different ways, the reality becomes you have to have an idea, the Stephen Covey principle of starting with the end in mind. You have to have an idea or a vision of where you want to go if you want to envision how to get there.
That's good. You have to have a vision if you want to envision. That's right. So what do you have in your vision for Clayton State? You're a brand new president there. Where do you see that university growing?
And so it's interesting because when I arrived on July 1, I said to my cabinet, extended cabinet, direct reports, I know enough about the institution to know that I do not know enough about the institution. And so today is my 76th day as the president of Clayton State University. Again, 52 years old, fifth president, first African-American president. I'm going in trying to remember why I was blessed with 2 ears and only 1 mouth. And so I'm trying to listen twice as much as I speak. And I created a transition team to map out my first 100 days as the president. And so I've embarked on that. Again, we're day 76. And ironically, yesterday was the last of my listening sessions for all internal constituents. And then I still have a plethora of external. I say all of that to say what I'm trying to do is see where the reoccurring themes are. And then utilizing the feedback of the people who walked a mile in the shoes of the institution, who've been down in the trenches to create that vision. Because again, I know they can envision the destination that we need to go to because they help identify where the challenges are. And more importantly, I believe they'll buy into the opportunities. And so when I look at my vision, the first thing is what we've already done, making sure that everybody is at the table. And then once we go through there, making sure that we provide a platform by which we can talk with each other and not to each other. Because right now, and if you look at whether it's politics or you see some of the other antics that play out, people are always pointing their finger, telling somebody what they're going to do, but they're not opening their hands or opening their hearts and saying, what can we do? How can we work individually and collectively to move together in a concerted manner that is for the betterment of not only self, but everyone else too?
Awesome. That seems to kind of tie into your leadership style. How would you describe your leadership style?
And so ironically, my dissertation looked at leadership styles and used Bowman and Dill's framework to go through and do that. The leadership style varies. And I think most good leaders will understand that no one size fits all. I, by far, one of the things I start out every day is I look at my institution and I see who has a birthday that day. And I send a personalized message on that individual's birthday. And you know, you go through and you start out always appreciating people. And especially if I can appreciate you during the good times, you'll work with me during the challenging times. And then trying to get people in the room, making sure that you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and be willing to get the heck out of the way. And so
let them do their thing. Yeah.
I found that those types of things really empower people. And empowered people are innovative people, and innovative people get so creative that, as I said, you know, you make $1 out of 15 cents with just a dime.
Awesome. Awesome. As a person who started off in STEM, I think my STEM background really kind of helps me to think differently when I approach challenges. How do you think your STEM background has prepared you for higher ed leadership?
You know, the intriguing thing in going through engineering school and looking at some of the things, one of the things you're taught is how to solve problems and how to think in a critical, logical manner in an efficient and effective way that you can identify variables, understand how to manipulate those variables to absolutely try to predict the desired outcome. And so when you think about it, that STEM background really helps tremendously because people are variables. And as a leader, your biggest thing is trying to help people be the best they can be, even in spite of themselves in something. And so I think that way and that problem solving, and I say this all the time to my team, you know, I don't believe in problems. I think there are challenges that we have the wherewithal to address to prevent things from becoming a problem. And that engineering, not only does it teach you to understand systems and the overall how the individual part contributes to the whole, it also makes you realize that you can tweak this to get a little bit of that. And so I think that engineering background, the way you learn, you build the confidence, you learn how to parse through a situation, and then you're confident that the direction you say we're going is one that will get us, not the right one, not the wrong one, but one that will get us from point A to point Z in a manner that is safe, in a manner that operates with integrity, and in a manner that will elevate everybody that came along for the journey.
That is so true. So true. So it seems like you're really good at coaching your team from what I'm picking up. Did you receive coaching as you on your journey to where you are now? What coaching did you receive and how did it impact your career?
Yeah, and you know, I know there is official delineation between mentoring and coaching. First of all, dating back to Ellis Ray Williams that turns 100, his mentorship as a little boy growing up in McDowell County was tremendous, you know. And so as you look at that and then coming through, and again, I've been carried around on the shoulders of giants throughout my career. But 2 years ago, I was, as part of my growth at my old institution, Fort Valley State University, the president, Paul Jones, said to me, I'm going to give you an opportunity to have an executive coach. And in that, it was kind of neat. My executive coach, a gentleman by the name of Mickey Burnham, Mickey started off as the chancellor / president of Elizabeth City University. Then he went from Elizabeth City to be the president of Bowie State University. And then Mickey has been the interim president of both University of Maryland Eastern Shore and of Coppin State University. And so what I learned from Mickey or Dr. Burnham was tremendous. And then I'm blessed to now for the University System of Georgia be executive coach. My executive coach is Mark Becker. And so Mark Becker is the former president of Georgia State University, one of the largest institutions in America. And he is world renowned for the work that they did on student success. And the neatest thing about it, with as many students as they have and many students of color, they went through and used data analytics to close the achievement gap. Awesome. That typically exists in higher education between minorities and white students. And so I've been blessed to really, really have people that understand me probably better than I understand myself.
That is wonderful to have that opportunity. Yeah. So you mentioned that I didn't realize that your dissertation was on leadership. So what are keys to leadership that you have found to be effective?
Yeah, I believe one thing that leaders fail to do sometimes, because this term micromanage or so, I think they fail sometimes to know their organization. I believe you need to know where the bodies are buried, and I believe you need to know the hands that were on the shovels that buried them. So I think knowing your organization, trying to get an understanding of the culture of the organization, both respecting it, but also being willing to be disruptive to it if it's an impediment to growth and overall direction of the institution. I believe communication is very, very key. If you do not tell your own story, somebody will make it up for you. You look at transparency, you look at integrity, but then you also look at this notion that water conforms to its own container. So you must be that vessel upon which is shaped, and then the various entities or constituents of your organization or institution, they are willingly pouring themselves into your container because they want to be shaped and molded in the way that you vision or envision them to go.
Awesome. So as we wind down the interview, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started your higher ed career?
I would say this is one of those things where everybody should know. You're never going to get all the credit that you think you deserve. And the quicker you do that, and I think that's about the growth and maturation of knowing who you are and whose you are. The quicker you understand that you're never going to get what you think you deserve, especially when you think you deserve it. If I were to start with my, younger self, I would really, really hone in on making sure I understood that sooner rather than later.
Interesting. Do you want to give an example of why do you think that's an important key? Why you think that's something you wish you knew earlier on?
Yeah, and I see it a lot in people that I work with and mentor and everything. I'll see somebody that is getting a master's degree and they'll tell me that they want to be a president of a university. And really, as you look at what they're doing, they're probably not going in the right direction. But it's hard for them to see that maybe there's another direction because they're so fixated on the end or the title. And then they go through, and I always ask people about the 2 C's. Are you doing things for compliance, or are you doing things out of commitment? And so when you see people that are being what I deem inorganic about that growth and inorganic about that development, they are simply trying to be compliant or checking boxes. Right. And I think as you go further in your career, as you focus on checking boxes, your authentic self it's difficult to shine through. And I believe at the end of the day, that creates holes in your armor that people can easily see through and that they will exploit.
Yeah, that compliance, that almost sounds like, are you just being status quo? You're just doing like the bare minimum to get by. So in this world, there's just so much we're dealing with in our country and in our families, in our community. As you look to the future, what gives you hope? What gives you hope?
Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of we've always found a way to make a way out of no way. We are a people with challenges, but there is no challenge before us that we do not have the opportunity to solve. Again, I talk about working with people, communicating with people, not telling or talking to them. I think we have a unique opportunity, and I say this all the time. My ultimate goal is to leave this world just a little bit better than what I found it. And I believe if we can, again, individually and collectively strive to achieve a goal of that nature, then we will leave a better place and a better space for those who come behind us.
Absolutely. If we can all commit to doing that, just to do a little to leave the world a better place. Thanks so much for making time to chat with me today, Terrence. Any parting words you'd like to share?
Well, no, I thank you so much for having me here. I've been blessed along my journey in life by so many people. I appreciate the seeds that you have sowed. I learned a lot about international education, the trip
Yes.
to, Guyana, and just even learning more about things in West Virginia and service at the public library system. And I just appreciate what individuals like yourself have done for me. I try to, in turn, try to do some things for other people. And I believe if we all continue to try to help someone else be a little bit better, we in turn are going to be better ourselves. And so thank you for your support. Thank you for your vision and your podcast and spreading the word. And just thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk a little bit about myself and who I am. And hopefully you can see whose I am because it's through your deeds, not your words, that really speak to the person you are.
And I hope, those listening today will be inspired, especially our young people, just be inspired by someone like Terrence, who has just, humble beginnings, but has been used by God for great things. So thank you so much, and say hello to your family.
All right, will do. Be good, be safe, and be
Okay.
blessed as you continue to be a blessing to others.
All righty. Thank you, Doc.